Hey everybody, Ryan here. This I've got a review for you now. This is going to be this is going to be my next build. This is airfix's 72nd scale 72nd scale red arrows folland gnat gift set. Now I know it says starter set on the box, but obviously since this kit was released. Um, since this kit was released since this kit was released, obviously Airfix have redone their starter sets to be in many ways like the starter sets used to be back in the 50s and the 60s. A lot more simplified and a lot more simplified and quick to build, because obviously as obviously in fairly modern times, the gift sets were as complex as the were just as complex in terms of fidelity, in terms of detail and fidelity as the classic, as their classic, some of their classic range kits. So yeah, and I think Airfix have gone back to the drawing board. So this is now technically a gift set and not starter set. But either way, you get four paints, a tube of glue, and a paintbrush. But obviously, this is of the folland gnat. Box art, very good box art. Obviously, of the two red arrows, folland gnat, red arrow, folland gnats in doing their display. And obviously, you've got the red arrow, the Royal Air Force Red Arrows logo on the box. This is licensed, obviously, because obviously this is a licensed product. This is a licensed product because obviously, if it's an officially licensed product, because obviously it's got the red arrows, the Royal Air Force logo, and the red arrows logo, which are Crown copyright trademarks, obviously. So yeah, so that's the box art. Now I'm going to obviously just get it open and have a look with you the instructions. So obviously the instruction, don't know where you're going to get this. The instructions. Those are your instructions. Feel free to pause. Feel free to feel free feel free to pause the video to read history, which is in English, French, German, and Spanish, and whatever E is, Espanol, and whatever Spanish, and whatever S is at the bottom. Going over. You've got the safety information. You got the safety information in various languages. You got safety information in various languages: English, Finnish, Danish, French, Dutch, German, Italian, Portuguese, whatever N is, Norwegian, I want to say, Spanish, Polish, and whatever S is down there. So you can have a look at that. Pause that, and then obviously to read the spec. Obviously you've got the safety information, and then of course you've got the assembly instructions in English, French, Dutch, English, French, German, Spanish, whether CS, Italian, Dutch, Danish, Portuguese, South African, SF, which I think is South African, Polish, and I do believe GR. GR might be Russian. And so this is a 1-2, 1-2 to 2-2, 1, 2, 27 stage. This is a 1 to 27 stages, 1 to 27 stages of assembly, kit-wise, sub-assembly, 27 assembly stages. So I'm now, like most of you, I'm now going to go through with you the build stage. Just because I would like to. So stage 1, you assemble the rear cockpit eject, the rear ejection, the rear ejector seat and the cockpit bulkhead. Stage 2, you assemble the seat, the rear cockpit seat and the rear cockpit seat and the rear ejector seat and the rear cockpit bulkhead onto the cockpit floor. Stage 3, you assemble on the joystick, the flight controls, the joysticks or the flight control columns. Stage 4, you assemble the front ejection seat. You assemble the rear instrument panel coaming and rear instrument panel onto the front ejection seat. Stage 5, you assemble the front. Obviously, the stage 4, which obviously is stage 5, which is you assemble stage 4, which is the rear the rear instrument panel coaming onto the front ejection seat into the cockpit floor. Stage 6, you assemble the front instrument panel, which you do get a decal for. I'll show you in the when I show you the part, which I'll show you the decals later, onto the cockpit floor. Stage 7, you assemble the intake. Stage 7, you assemble the port side intake. Stage 8, you assemble the starboard side intake. And then stage 7, you assemble stage 7, you assemble the cockpit sidewalls into the starboard into the port side fuselage, and then stage 9, you assemble the port side rear sidewall into the fuselage. Stage 10. Now, obviously, these two sidewalls double up as the intake trunking, as the intake 11 one side, and you paint the intake ducting 11 on one side, and you paint the cockpit sidewalls on one side. You've got the cockpit sidewalls, the other you've got the air intake thing, and then obviously stage 11, and then obviously this is when, of course, this all depends if you want it undercarriage up or undercarriage down. If you want it undercarriage down, you assemble 11A, 11B, and then proceed to stage 12, 13, 14, and 15. Or if you want it undercarriage up, you just then do 11C and 11D, and then proceed to stage 16 and stage 16, which is putting in the cockpit into the cockpit into the port side fuselage, and then obviously gluing the two. Stage 17, you glue the two fuselage halves together. Stage 18, if you're doing it with undercarriage up, you just put 30. You assemble on part 13A, or if you're doing it wheels down, you put on part 6A. Again, stage 19, if you're doing undercarriage down, you put undercarriage up, you put part 7B. If you're doing wheels down, you assemble parts A, you assemble part 18, you assemble part 50, you assemble part 21B onto 21B onto onto 11 onto 18B, and then glue on which is basically the nose gear only, the nose gear, the nose gear, the nose gear wheel, and obviously the nose gear door and the main wheels. And then stage 20, you glue that in to the nose wheel well. Stage 21, you glue the main wheels onto onto the landing gear leg, onto the main landing gear legs. Obviously, it's then telling you when you glue it in that there should be a 5 degree, a five, a 5 degree, a 5 degree, a, basically make sure they like they've got a 5 degree camber, vertical camber on them, so that they sit properly on the ground. And then stage 22, you assemble the main wing, the main wing box. Stage 23, you assemble the main wing box onto the fuselage. Stage 24, you assemble the tail jet, the exhaust jet pipe onto the fuselage. Stage 25, you assemble the ailerons onto the horizontal stabilizers and the elevators on the aircraft. And remind you to make sure that they're 90 degrees, that they're 90 degrees in relation to them, that basically that they're both level, that they're both at a right angle of 90 degrees. And then stage 26, you assemble. If you want to put pilot, I mean, I'm not sure if I'm going to put pilots in mine, but stage 26, you put the pilots, the canopy, the front light, the front taxiing light, and area, and the aerial and the top aerials onto, and the aerials onto the fuselage. And then the final stage is putting on the pitot tube, which is the airspeed indicator. So it's a relatively simple build, to be honest with you. It's a relatively simple build. It's a relatively simple build from that point of view. Now on to the parts. So parts wise, so frames wise, you get or sprue wise, you frames / sprues, you get two light grey sprues, two light grey bluish screws of plastic, and then of course you get your clear part, which I'll do at the end of the which I'll show you at the end of the review. So we'll go for sprue. We'll go in alphabetical order. So we'll go for sprue A. So sprue alpha, you have got parts. You've got the wing box, the main wing box. You've got the main wing box in obviously in with the top half, with the top half of the wing box being molded in one, and the fuselage being molded, the top of the fuselage and the wing and the wing and the upper wing surfaces being molded in one. And then you've got the top of the wing box being molded in one piece, and then the bottom wing box being the bottom of the main, the underside of the main wings being molded separately. And then you've obviously got your pilots if you use them. You've got the wheels. You've got the wheel hubs, I do believe. You've got the main wheels. You've got the parts for the drop tanks, which are not called for in this kit, interestingly. And that's the one thing I did pick up of having a look at the history of this kit. And then also you got, this is what I was saying earlier. If you do wheels up, you put in that part, which is 13B. And then you got, if you're doing wheels down, you put 6B in. And then you've got the wheel wells, and then you've got more parts for the drop tanks. wheel well, main wheel wells, cockpit nose gear bay, and the pitot tube. I'm just going to flip that round so that you can see. Obviously, there you've got the cockpit. You've got the cockpit floor there, the wheel well bays, the wheel well bay, the main wheel well bays, and the jet pipe there. And obviously, you've got the other side of the wheels there. Molding. The detail is really, considering this is second scale kit, the molded on detail is quite really well. It's quite crisp, actually, because you're not. I don't know how well you're going to get this, but you even get the. You even get the right at the back of it. You've even got the final stage. The final stage of the compressor blades up the jet at the back, up at the back of the jet pipe, and also you've got, yeah, and you got some molded details. Again, you got obviously you got molded on wheel well, the wheel details and everything. So give you a quick look at that sprue. I'll give you another look at that sprue. The panel lines are really nicely done, actually, not overdone. In fact, I'm not sure how well you can see the panel lines, actually, thinking about it. There we are, now we can see the panel lines. Yeah, the panel lines are nicely done, not overdone. The thing is that because, of course, I'm having to present this to you from a webcam, the camera lines are actually that well done. You don't actually see them unless you're really close in. I mean, even if I mean, the lighting conditions today are not exactly perfect, but even with the more brighter, like natural lighting conditions that we have for today, that we usually have in the UK, as in when the sun comes out to play, it's difficult even to see past them, really. So obviously, and then you've got sprue B. So sprue B, you've got the two sprue B, you've got the two fuselage halves, and again the panel lines on the fuselage halves are really nicely done, not overdone, not underdone, and yeah, really nicely done, actually. Obviously, you got parts for the drop tank. You've got some more parts for the drop tank which are uncalled for. You've got the main gear legs. Got the main gear legs, the intakes, the back of the instrument panel. I'll show you the back. I think this is I think I can't remember which, but one of these is obviously, this is the closed landing gear main wheel gear door. This is the open main wheel gear door control columns, landing gear legs, landing gear doors, front bulkhead with the instrument panel combing, on, back cockpit, the underside of the cockpit of the cockpit bulkhead this is obviously, these are the horizontal stabilizers. Try and keep it in shot, right? These are the rear of the horizontal stabilizers, the back underside of the horizontal stabilizers, and then these are the intake trunk. This is the intake ducting, which on the other side is the cockpit sidewall, which I'll show you in a minute. And of course, you've got the two aerials that go underneath. And then of course you've got the back of the ejection seats, the ejection seats there as well. Oh, and there's the rear instrument panel there, guys. Just that there. Again, it's barren of any detail, but then that's because that's a deck. You've got a decal for it. You've got a decal for it. So going over to the so you've got the front instrument panel there. Again, no detail on it, because obviously you've got a decal for it, and then you've got the sidewalls. You've got the sidewalls for you've got the sidewalls here and here for the rear cockpit, the rear cockpit there, and then you've got, so you've got, I think this is the starboard, this is the, can't remember which, but either way, that these are these are both the cockpit and starboard side, cockpit and cockpit port and starboard rear cockpit sidewalls, along which also double up as the intake trunking. And then you've got the ejection seats. Again, the panel, the sidewall, the detail on the sidewalls, the detail on the sidewalls of the rear cockpit sidewalls and the front cockpit sidewalls is nicely done. It's not overdone. And to be honest, if you do this with canopy closed, with the canopy closed, you're not going to see an awful lot of it. Maybe, well, not an awful lot of it. Maybe front on the front cockpit, maybe the rear cockpit. Maybe rear cockpit you might see a bit more, but front cockpit you don't see a great see a great deal of the detail. I mean, I'm going to try and have this with no pilots in it and the canopy open, so it's waiting for the pilot. I'm going to have this very much powered down, canopy open, awaiting pilot for the day, awaiting a pilot for the sortie. So yeah, that's the fuselage, the sprue B with the fuselage shafts. I'm going to give you another look at that. Another look at that one, and that one. And then lastly, the clear parts. Obviously, you've got the front light, the front taxiing light there, and you've got the clear canopy. Obviously, this has got the framing on this canopy. You haven't got any front. You haven't got any frames on the front of the canopy. On the front of the canopy, it's very much a rounded. It's got the bottom frame and then the top frame, and then you got the canopy caming is really nicely done on this, actually, guys, to the point the canopy frame is really nicely done in terms it's well defined, so that you can put masking tape up against it, or even these days, since Eduard do them, you can just buy the Eduard mask set and mask the canopy from that point of view. So, and of course it's crystal considering it's a complex curve shape, the clarity is crystal clear. No magnification, considering it's a clear, no distortion or no magnification or distortion, considering it's a curved shape. So yeah, really good clear part, so you can see in all theory see inside the cockpit. And then lastly, the decals, which have got obviously the white and blue fin flashes, the white and blue with the Union Jack, the Royal Air Force logo with what I believe with the Royal Air Force logo, with which I believe is what I believe has got Kemble RAF Kemble's coat of arms on it, or the Royal Air Force's coat of arms on there. Not well sure you're going to get that. The instrument panel, both front and rear instrument panel, obviously this is red 3, and then obviously you've got the RAF rondels. You've got the RAF rondels. You've got the aircraft in serial, which is X-ray. the aircraft serials, the aircraft serials, X-ray 977, and then obviously X-ray 977 for the underwing serials. Um, it was, I mean, this whole business of the aircraft having a serial underneath the wings was so that, in all theory, if the RAF, if the aircraft was flying below the member of and a member of the public deemed it was unauthorized, that it'd been was flying too low, without authority. They could obviously ring they could ring the police, the aircraft registration, but in reality, you'd have to have very good eyesight and be very quick reading off the registration, because the speed these do, you're only going to get 60 seconds at most to read off the serial number completely. I mean, in the end, it was stupid. I mean, I think in the end, the RAF ditched having the serial number on these, on all their aircraft, not just these, underneath the wings. So yeah, that's the decal, and then obviously, so that's the obviously those are decals, and obviously that's the color scheme. I don't know how you're going to get this. So this is the Folland / Hawker Siddeley gnat t.1 trainer Mark 1 of the Royal Air Force, the Royal Air Force Royal Air Force aerobatic team, the Royal Air Force Red Arrows, RAF Kemble in Gloucestershire, RAF Kemble in Gloucestershire in 1978 into 1979, which was the last year that the Red Arrows flew this aircraft before they went on to the more familiar and more well-known Hawk T1 T1A training aircraft. Obviously, this is going to be a challenge for me, because obviously this is a Red Arrow. I mean, yes, it is one cut. Yes, it is all one color. This is going to be a challenge for me, because yes, it's a relatively simple color scheme in that it's all one color. It's red, but the red arrows it's high. It's a high gloss finish effect. It's a high gloss finish build effectively, in my preparations work in terms of when I go into paint this thing. At the end of the day, I'm going to have to make sure that I've got no dust on the model, or even no dust or fingerprints on the aircraft, or glue marks or fingerprints on the aircraft, because with a high gloss finish, any of those imperfections will stick out like a sore thumb, and I can't even because what I'm trying to say, guys. Those of you who those anyone who builds anyone who's out there anyone who builds who's a car builder or a car modeler will know what I mean. In that when you build a model of a car, when you actually do the paintwork, your prep is critical, in that it has to be nice and smooth, and it has to be nice. Everything, you have to make sure that there's no imperfections in your prep work before you go into paint, because obviously the high gloss finish will um will make those imperfections stick out like a sore thumb. The other thing, of course, I will say with this is, of course, unlike other aircraft types, unlike 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 other in service jets, like um like like the Typhoons that the RAF use now, that the Typhoons that the RAF use, the Royal Air Force use now, where you can get away with where you can get where you basically get away with any mistakes, weathering. These you can't. This you can't. This build I can't. This build I'm not going to be able to, because these were kept and still are kept to a very kept in a pristine condition, to the point, obviously, that the current air officer commanding would have a fit if he was to see the slightest bit of dirt on the jets, and even the air officer commanding then when the red arrows were flying these. So it's going to be a challenge for me in that. I mean, I've never built. I mean, all my years of hobbit of building airfix, I've never built a red arrow aircraft, whether it be a folland gnat or a red arrows hawk. But yeah, that's going to be my review. Um, yeah, so I hope you enjoy it. I hope you like the review. And yeah, so part one will be up relatively soon-ish. Don't know when, but it will be up soon. All right. Bye for now, guys.